Rocket Lab reported their earnings on Monday. It seemed like the results were fairly positive, but the stock did move down. What were
Initially,
your,
it
yeah,
recovered
initially?
actually. Yeah.
What were your takes from earnings?
Yeah, so they basically met expectations on revenue and EPS. With no surprises there. But what's good to sort of like put things in perspective is that meeting expectations meant that they were up over 60% year over year on revenue, which is pretty incredible growth. Like when a company is growing 60% year over year, it's just mind blowing.
And this is
And then
before Neutron.
and this is before Neutron, where like lot of us investors who have been in Rocket Lab for a few years now, we didn't think this level of revenue was possible before Neutron comes online. But so that was super exciting. And then the most other exciting part of the earnings report was their guide for next quarter was, if I'm not mistaken, 250 to 265 million for next
Yes.
quarter. And
And
that
the
basically,
estimate was roughly 235 million.
that's right. That's right. So that's a substantial increase from the analyst expectations, and also it's another 60%. It's actually 61 to 70% year over year growth from last year, and again, that's still without Neutron. Their backlog has grown again substantially. They now have almost a $2.4 billion backlog, so that is very exciting. The one little bit of like potentially negative news was the way in which Peter Peter Beck talked about Neutron's progress was very cautious about hitting their first launch by the end of the year. And the way in which he framed it is that yes, getting like we still are pushing to get to the first launch by the end of the year, but what is far more important is the reusability aspect of it. And we're trying to sort of do trade-offs as to how much testing do we need to do to make sure that the rocket is going to rapidly reach reusability, because what's much more important is the 10th launch of Neutron, not the first launch, right? So it's like, how quickly can we get to 10 launches as opposed to how quickly can we get the first launch off, but then like all of a sudden have to pause because all kinds of things went wrong. So that's the way in which he talked about it. But the market sort of took that to mean, okay, Neutron is getting delayed again. It has been delayed quite a bit. So that was the sort of like only negative takeaway. Again, the stock is trading at pretty high premiums in terms of sales multiples. So it is justifiable for it to be pretty volatile based on award being sort of moved around here and there. My perspective on it is that Rocket Lab just continues to be an extremely strong company, executing exceptionally well, and I'm very, very excited for it long term. What is it currently worth? It's hard to say, but what's it going to be worth 5 years, 10 years from now? Probably significantly more than it is today. So that's my view on it.
So another takeaway, I don't think it's a huge impact to the business, but something that I love to see was their Ghost program,
Yeah.
which is they added a new ability where they can launch Electron or their HASTE rockets from anywhere. They ship the rockets, the launch pad, the ground support in shipping containers to wherever the customer wants. And this came from a customer request. And what I like about this in particular is you can only do this because the rockets are smaller. So right,
Right.
like you can't do this with Neutron, or it'd be a lot harder to do it with Neutron. So it's finding advantages with the smaller rockets and creating new revenue streams from it, which I
Right.
think is just absolutely genius, because this is something that a SpaceX, at least currently, can't do with their setup. So
Right.
it just
Right.
it's a new differentiator for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that and I was like, okay, for how long will they continue the Electron program after
Mm.
Neutron comes online? So, because you're talking about 50, $60 million launches versus sub $10 million launches with Electron. So, there's a 5 or 6 x higher price tag on a per launch basis. And a lot of that is going to depend on how much demand is there. If there's insatiable demand for Neutron, then you may as well redirect all your Electron resources onto Neutron and just focus on that. And despite this being a very cool capability, they might abandon it in the future. I don't see them doing this 5 years from now. It's a nice stopgap until Neutron gets going at scale, but yeah, it's not something that would even interest SpaceX, because it's like, who cares about a $10 million launch?
Maybe. I do think it potentially gets their foot in the door for certain customers that are looking for capabilities like this. Like the HASTE rocket is suborbital. So it's not
Yeah.
even like it's going necessarily to space, but
Yeah, that's true. Like the military applications for it could
right.
lead to
Exactly.
other contracts. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a world where maybe they retire Electron but keep HASTE.
Yeah, that's a good
Who
point.
knows?
If you enjoyed this clip, consider subscribing to the Buy Hold Rant podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. New episodes are released every Wednesday, and you can watch them live on YouTube.